Hello and welcome back to Coding with T. In today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to fetch and display images from Firebase Firestore and from Firebase Storage. Images are coming from the Firebase Storage that we already stored in the previous tutorial, and in today's tutorial, we're going to fetch those images and display those images inside our Flutter e-commerce admin panel, or you can call it Flutter Web. Another thing that we are going to learn is how to view the large image using a pop-up, and the main thing that how we are going to deal with only displaying 20 images at first, and later on we are going to use a load more button to display more images, and by this way we will be able to save the extra reads from our database, and by this way we will make our database as an efficient, fast and cost friendly. So let's get started. Also, we are inside our e-commerce hidden panel dashboard, and we have covered already the login part, and we have already created this dashboard. Now we are inside the media section. Click on it, and in the previous tutorial we learned that how we are going to click on this upload to upload the images, how to handle this drag and drop builder. And now when I'm going to select any of the folder, let's open the brands, and as you can see we have a lot of images of the brands, but when I'm going to click on this load more, it's not going to load more images because already we have less images than 20, because the default number to fetch the images is 20. So these are not the 20 images. This means that we already have less records. So by clicking on the load more, you can see no other images arrived. So let's switch to the products, and in here you can see we have 20 images, but when I'm going to click on this load more button, after this red hat you have to see 3 more images in the database. This means that in total we have 23 images, but again if we have more than 20 images, let's say we have 40 images arrived, then again we are going to click on load more, then we will be able to fetch more images. So this number can be defined by the user. We can give a drop down over here that how many images you want to fetch, or currently it's hard coded in the system. And also when I'm going to click on any of the image, so as you can see a pop-up, currently we have that white background, then in the gray background we have the image, then at the bottom we have a divider, image name, image URL, then we also have this copy URL image, and when I'm going to copy this, you can see down below we have a URL copied pop-up, and also we have delete image button over here. So this is what we are going to create in today's tutorial. We are creating Flutter e-commerce admin panel, and we have already covered 6 sections in which we learn how to configure all the tutorials, and we learn how to handle the routing and navigation, what is middleware, how to handle URLs. That's very important section. Then responsive design and how the responsive principles works in Flutter admin panel. Then we create reusable widgets in that, and after that we created the admin management. We register the admin. We created login design, forget password screens, sending email, everything is completed. Then we learn how to handle the tables, what is table, what is data table, what is data table 2, and how we are going to finally create our own widget using paginated data table. So that's again very useful, and we already covered the dashboard section, which is the 6th section, and now we are about to complete with the 7th section of our media part. And from now onward we are going to start creating, after this media section we will start working on creating all the screens and then all the backend. So by this way we will be able to complete our e-commerce admin panel. So if you're new, you can watch the previous videos, link is in the description, and also you can download the complete code, link is in the description. So let's get started with today's tutorial. We are inside the project, and currently we are in the media repository, in which we previously created 2 functions. The first one is to upload images into the storage, and after the storage we are going to get the metadata from the Firebase storage and also the download URL, and add the image name and download URL with the path metadata using this image model function, which is from Firebase metadata. We map all the details, and inside the media repository we send those data to the Firestore database using this function, upload images in the database, and we send the image one by one over here, and it is going to upload those images in the images collection. And using that images collection we are going to today fetch the data. And now after this upload image file in database, we are going to create a function over here which is going to fetch the data or the images from the Firestore. If you open your Firebase console and head towards the images collection which we created in our previous tutorial while storing the images, and you can see we have a URL of that image which is currently stored inside our storage. So we are not directly going to the storage to find that image, but instead we are going to get the URL from our Firestore. And another very important thing that we are going to use for loading more images and only fetching limited images is this date which is created at, because we are going to sort all the things using this variable or the key called created at. Okay, now let's create a function. Okay, I've created a function which is fetch images from database, and in here we are going to send or receive a media category. The media category means it is, if you see this again, and in here we have a media category and it's banners, because this image is stored as a banner image. So we have different folders and each folder is defined using the media category. And if you want to see this media category, it is an enum and it is declared inside utils and enums.dart. Media categories, we have these media categories: banners, brands, categories, products, and users. We are not going to do anything with the folders, just for the drop down. Okay, in here I've created a function fetch images from database, and in here we're going to get the media category and load count. How many images we want will be over here in the load count, and what type of images we want is the media category, which is actually a folder. And we have created this enum inside the utils constants and enums.dart. Media category has the enum of brands, banners, categories, products, and users, but we have a folders as an add-on for our drop-down. And if you see the Firestore over here, we also have the media category as banners, because this image is the banners image. Okay, now let's say we receive the selected folder. User has selected or the admin has selected from the drop down to view all the banners. And let's say we receive the banners over here, and now we have to call the query or create the query, create a variable query snapshot. And to call all the Firebase related queries, we have to use the await sign, because you see we're going to return list of images from here, which is an image model. We're going to talk about this image model in few minutes, but first you can see it's a future type and async type, means it is going to take some time to execute the cloud query. So you have to use the wait sign and then call Firebase Firestore dot instance, and then we have to call the collection. Name of the collection should be exactly same as we have over here. So it's images. So copy and paste so that we can get the exact same collection which we are storing the images. After this collection, we are going to use the where clause, and now we have to give the field name. Go to the Firebase and we have to get this same field name. So edit it, double click on this media category, copy, cancel, and back over here in the single or double quotes, I'm going to give it as a media category, and then we have is equal to, and we have this media category over here, media category dot name dot to string. And now here is another very important point, that I'm going to order this query by another field, which is this one, which is created at, right? So we are going to sort all the records using this created at, because later on we are going to get more records. So using this order by, we are going to call the created at and make it descending to true, so that we can always have the latest images at first. And that's not just it. Also, we need to add the limit, because we do not want to load all the images or all the items inside our collection, because we only want this much of images load count. So whatever the load count is, let's say 20, 30, this is the load count for the first time. And then simply call get, which is going to return us this query snapshot over here. And then we are going to return the image model using image model function like this. We are going to use this query snapshot dot docs, means query each document one at a time. And then using a map property, what we are going to return? We are going to return this image model. And inside the map, we are going to use E, means one each document at a time. So we're going to get this E. Using this image model, we're going to call the from snapshot, which is going to receive that E, which is actually a type of document snapshot, a JSON. You can see this map means a JSON. This is key and this is value. So this map in Dart is a JSON and it is a type of document snapshot. So first we have to remove this document snapshot and extract this JSON to get all the values. So we have the document.data, and .data is going to remove this snapshot and get us with this JSON only. So we have the JSON here, and you see we have to initialize all these values like this. And if you are not doing adding a question mark, and let's say the name of the folder is null, then you are trying to assign null to this folder, which is a type of string, and it is not going to receive the null, and you will probably get some exception. So make sure to have these assignments, or you can call the null operators. Once that image is mapped from JSON to the image model, we will return this image, and using this to this function, we will return all the images that received into a form of list of image model. Now you have all the images up to the loaded count, let's say 20 images. They are ordered by with the created at date, and the images we are getting only from the media category. So we are not calling extra reads from the database. First, we are limiting the reads using this media category, and then we are going to reduce the reads using this limit function, which is the load count. Okay, now after this, I'm going to create another function to get the more images. Okay, I've created the same function, exactly the same as we have over here. I copied everything from try catch just to change the name, load more images from database, and we are returning the same future type of list of image model. But over here, we are going to receive the same media category, same load count, but one additional thing, which is the date of last fetch record, right? So how are we going to get it? If you remember, we receive all the records using order by with the created at date. So we're going to pass the last record over here. We will do that when we're going to call these functions. So let's first copy this query or the same query, paste it over here. You can see we're going to call the same collection using where media category is same, order by is again same, limit is again same. We pass the limit, and only one thing that we need to add right after this order by, we're going to use the start after function, and using the start after function in the list parameters, we're going to pass this date time, which is last fetch date. So it is going to get all the images in this category, and order by will be created at descending, and once it is going to reach here with the start after, it is going to find the last record, which is the 20th record, and after that last record, it is going to get the next, let's say 10 images, maybe 20 images, whatever the count we passed over here, and it is going to return in a same way by mapping all the images with the list of image models. So we have the functions of Cloud Firebase ready. Now once we have these functions ready, we have to call these functions from our media controller, in which we have already created select local images, upload images confirmation, upload images, and also we have the upload images loader, and then additional function to get the selected path. And on top of this, I'm going to create a function to get media images. Name of the function that I created is a get media images. It is not going to return anything, and it is a type of async function. And in the try catch, first I will start the loading variable. I created the boolean type of loading variable as false by default, and it is a type of OBS. This means whenever there is change inside this loading variable, the design should automatically get change. So first of all, let's make the loading variable to true. Whenever this true will be triggered or assigned to this loading variable, in the design we are going to start displaying the loader, and once this function is completed, make the loading to false. If we catch any exception, make loading to false and display a relevant error using tloaders.error snackbar using the get.snackbar method, and this is what we are going to display, which is inside our tloaders class. Okay, in here I am going to create two more variables after this loading variable. The first one is initial load count, and second one is load more count. Both are integer type, and by default these values are 20 and 25. And now over here we are going to, before directly calling the function to get the images, first of all we need to know that which image list we want. We want all banners, we want all products, brands, categories, users, what type of list is required, or what type of drop down user has selected. So first of all, we are going to create a simple empty target list, which is a list of type Rx, means it can be changed using this OBS, and whenever there is change inside this, we are going to trigger that same change over here, because we are not going to create this as a separate list, but it will be just an instance of any of these lists, because we are going to use the if statement to find out that which path is selected. If selected path from the drop down value is media banners, then we're going to assign all the banner images to this target list. This means that now this target list is just an instance of this banner images, and whenever there is change inside this target list, it is automatically going to update its all banner images. And if this is the same case for all of these, so only one of them will be selected into the target list. And just for the additional check, you can also add this thing, which is all banners, brands, categories, products, and users are in empty, because at first they should be empty, Then we're going to add, simply assign the new data to all these banners list. Okay, now let's call the media repository with a wait sign, and we're going to call the function, which is the first function, fetch images from database. In this, we're going to pass simply the selected path, and then whatever the initial count, currently it's static, you can make it dynamic if you want using .obs, and if the initial count is 20, we're going to get the 20 images in here, and then we're going to assign all the 20 images to this target list dot. We're going to use the assign all. Remember this function, which is assign all. This means that do not keep any record previously. If you have anything in the target list, let's say we have 2 to 3 images or 10 to 20 images already added in the target list, then it is not going to keep those images but override the complete list with the new images that we just receive over here. So now the target list only contain this images, and at the end we have to make the loading as false. And then another function for the load more images, I'm going to copy the same function, but in here we are going to change this function. We are going to call in the media repository load more images from database, but it requires one additional thing, selected path, initial load count. And over here we have to, if you see this function again, we need to pass the last fetched record, and for that we have to call, we have all the records in the target list. So let's call the target list dot last record, because we have already sorted all the record dot last dot using created at, because we have to pass the date. And if in case this created at is null, because it can be null, then we are going to call the date time dot now. So we cannot pass the null in any case. So with this way we will again get all the images, and we are going to use the add all property. Over here at the top you can see we are using assign all. This means that all the images will be assigned to this target list, but add all is going to add these images into already added images. Means let's say we have 10 more images, then these 10 more images are going to add in the list of previous 20 images. So it is not going to overwrite this list but add all these additional images. So we have these two functions. We just have to call the get media images, and on the load more button we have to call the load more media images function. For that we have to go to the features, media, screens, and in the widgets we have media content. And over here you see we have already designed all these things, and inside our media folder drop down, which we created in the previous tutorial of the design, let's go to media folder, and this is the drop down that we are using, but its on change is already called, and we are using the on change over here. We receive the new media category whenever the function will be changed or the drop down will be changed. We receive the new media category, and if that is not null, we are assigning the selected path as the new value. But over here, whenever there is change inside the drop down, we also want to call controller dot get media images, and it will first start the loader. So we also have to have a loader over here so that user may know that the new image started fetching from the database. So whenever there is change, it is automatically going to call the media images function inside the controller, and it is going to get the selected path, because right on top of this drop down chain we first change the selected path and then call this get media images. Next, inside to view the media, whenever this get media images will be triggered, you can see it is not going to return anything, but instead it is going to assign the new values using this target list to any of these variables, either all banner images, brand images, category, products, or user images. Whatever the folder is selected, based on that folder these lists will be populated with the new data. And now we just have to see which folder is selected, and based on that folder we want to get the list. And over here we are not going to use now the static children's, so let's remove this for now. And I am also going to add this load more button inside this wrap. So let me wrap it with a simple column and extract this load more button, not inside this main column, but instead of this show media column right next to the wrap as it was previously. Nothing changed, just added a new column. And now I'm going to wrap this column with another widget, which is the object widget, so that we can detect the change. Whenever there is change, we cannot use the fat arrows. We're going to create a function, and we're going to return the column, and at the end of the column we need a semicolon, curly brackets, and that's it. So currently we are returning the widget which is column widget, but first we have to add some checks to keep the design clean. I'm not going to add all the code over here because this is also a function and we are returning our widget here, but rather I'm going to create a new widget which is called get selected folder images. Go to more action and create a method. It's over here. And just to save the time, I have added all the things. First of all, create an empty list again. It is not a type of RX list, but just a simple empty list of image model. And we're going to check using the controller if selected path is banners. We are going to call the banners list dot where image URL is not empty, because based on this URL we are going to display the image, and if the URL is not empty we are going to make this as a list and assign it to the images. If it is brands, categories, products and users, any one of them or one of them will be selected, and based on that we will have all the images here, and simply we're going to return those images using this function, and by this way we have all the images right inside this variable. Now after this I'm going to start the loader. You can call the loader first or later on, because this is not a cloud query, so that's why it's not going to take any time. So that's why it doesn't matter if you're going to call it over here or here. So using controller dot loading dot value, because whenever this function get media images will be triggered, it is going to change this loading, and because it is a type of OBX, this OBX is going to detect the change of this OBS variable and will redraw the UI, and whenever this OBX is going to redraw its function, it is going to check this if controller.loading value is true. At that time it is true and images is empty. Only in that case if images is empty, because at first time we want to display the loader. Otherwise, whenever the load more function will be triggered, that images will not be empty, and in that case loader will not be appeared. So it is a T loader animation, a simple lottie file using center, and using the lottie.asset I'm passing this lottie animation. You can get this animation or all the assets from the starter kit of admin panel with a height of 200, width of 200. And also I'm going to create empty widget. If images dot is empty, we are not going to return the column here, but we are going to simply return build empty animation widget. So again, click on more, create method, and inside this I'm going to return a padding. First of all, this is the padding, and using a large padding using t sizes dot large, which is 24, and multiply this with 3 so that we have a large padding only from vertical means top and bottom. Then in the child we're going to use the t animation loader widget, which is this one we created in the e-commerce app, and we are using center column with the lottie again, a size box for the space, then we have a text, and also we have a show action. If we want to display the button, we are using this button over here. So we use to have a width and height of 300. Text will be select your desired folder. This is the animation package for the lottie files. In the T images, if you find the JSON lenient error, this means that you are using this package, but the JSON is not found inside your assets. So make sure to add all these packages first, and this style is for the text. So again, this is a function that we have already created at the top for the empty widget. Okay, now it's time to work with this column to display the load more button or the wrap. So first of all, make the column main axis size as minimum and cross axis alignment to start, and then inside this children property we're going to use the images, and first of all remove this constant dot map, and inside the map we have a function, and we can call, if we want to return one single thing we can use the fat arrows, and we want to return as required, we're going to return list of children's, and list of children's of type widget. So I'm going to use the gesture detector, so that on its on tab we want to display a pop-up. Whenever this single image will be tapped, we want to create a pop-up. So currently let's make this on tap as null, not null but not doing anything as well. And then as a child we're going to use the same design. Again here I'm using the images, then we're going to use the map property, and each time we will have a single image at a time, and then we are going to use the gesture detector. Whenever it is going to tap, we are going to display the pop-up which we are going to create now. And then as the image, we are using the size box with a width and height, width 140, height 180. You can use width and height of 140 into 140, but that's your choice. Okay, next, as a column, we are going to create the list of children's. The first thing, it will be the list that we are going to display for all the images, and then down below we have the expanded property to display the name of that image using the text, which is each time we'll get this one single image, and we are going to pass the image inside this function to create that image, and also image.file name will be displayed right below the image. And the reason to use the expanded inside a column is to create the text responsive. Again, create this method, build simple list, and we're going to receive the one single image at a time. This image is going to use the t-rounded image. This is the width and height. Then we have the padding, image type, margin, and background. And at the top, if you see, the size box with the height of 180 is also going to contain this text. So it has the image in the 140 into 140 box. Then in the height or the additional height, we have this text. And if you're going to add the larger text, or if you want to use some other theme to display the large size of the text, then make sure to adjust the height. Otherwise, it might not be visible as you expected. Okay, we are almost done over here with the images, and now it's time to do few changes with the load more button. First of all, add an if statement, Control Alt L, right on top of this padding. If controller.loading.value is false with this sign, means loader is not loading. Only in that case we want to display this load more button. And if already something is loading, we do not want to display the load more button again. And just on its own press, we're going to use the controller and call load more images. That's it, nothing else to do. And it is going to load more images based on the drop down value or the folder which is selected using the drop down button. Okay, now it's time to run this application, but we are not going to run this application with this sign, but we are going to debug this. So to debug the code, we have to run it with this bug sign. Click on it, or you can press F5 in the Visual Studio Code if you are using that to debug your application. And also you can go to run, and in that you can click on the debug to start debugging. Okay, because we are going to debug the backend, so you have to click on this media controller, and in here if you want to debug anything, but because we are going to debug this cloud query, so click on this, add toward the media repository, and in here to add a breakpoint where we want to stop and check if there is something wrong. We're going to add the breakpoints inside these exceptions so that we can read the actual errors, because the actual errors are not for the users to be seen. So we are not going to display those errors, but rather we are going to display some generic error that something went wrong, you are unable to fetch record, or we are unable to get something, contact admin. So these errors are generic errors for the people who are using this. But for the technical side, you can use the actual errors to log them in the Crashlytics of Firebase or using some other libraries. Okay, our application is running, and let's click on media. And in here, you can see currently we cannot find any images. And let's click on the folders, and let's click on the banners. You can see the loader, and we have the image right in front of us, and we can view the image. So you are only able to view this image because of the course that we enabled in the previous tutorial. If you are not able to see any image over here with a black sign, this means that you have to enable the course CORS, which is the cross origin, to fetch the image from the different servers, which is the previous tutorial. Make sure to watch that. And if in case you are going to find the exception that you are unable to fetch anything, and most probably as I have added a breakpoints over here, this breakpoint will be triggered or hit with which is the Firebase exception. This means that it is going to show you some in the message of this exception. When you hover over this E method, you're going to face or view the exception, which is going to give you the URL that you have to just open in the browser. And if I'm going to go to the Firestore database in your Firebase console of your project, in the indexes over here, you can see I have the index already created, which is the images media category ascending, created at descending, and underscore underscore name underscore underscore descending is enabled. So if you want to do it manually, you can just click on the add index, name it images, add all the fields path that are already added over there, take this collection, create the index, and in the three fields you have to use the same thing, right? So media category ascending, created at descending, name descending. So let's say I'm going to delete this just for the demonstration. Over here I'm going to refresh this media section. Now let's again click on the banners, fetching the image, and you can see the breakpoint triggered, and we have something in the exception. And if you open this E, or you can also hover over here to view the message, click on this one, and in the message you can see the query requires an index. You can create it here. So it is providing us the URL. You can click on view, copy the complete URL, open the browser, paste whatever URL you receive, and make sure you are signed in with the same email. You have to select the same email in which you have created your Firebase project, and then it is going to give you a pop-up. You can see all these three fields. Just hit on save button, and it is not creating that index because it is saying index already exists. I think it needs to take some time to create and delete the index, so we need to try it again. And yes, you can see it's now creating the index. It might take few seconds to build this, and once it's created, it will be written as enabled, and after that we will be able to see our images. Okay, in here in the widgets, you can see we have a new widget which is view image details.dart. Name of the widget is image popup. It is going to receive the image, whatever we want to display the image as a pop-up image. We are going to call this widget and we are going to pass our own image. And inside we have a single child scroll view. Then we are going to use the dialog to pop up. And the shape that we are using is a rounded rectangle border with this border radius. Then in the T rounded container, as a child of this dialog, we are going to use the width for the desktop screen. As you can see, if we're using the T device utils is desktop screen, which is this function, which is using the media query to check if it is a desktop or not. And if it is a desktop, we're going to go for the media query and we are only going to take the 40% of the width to display that dialog box so that it cannot take the large space. And if it is a tablet or mobile, then we are going to display or get the all width available for our dialog to be appeared. Then we have the space. Then in the column, first we are going to display the image here using a stack because we are going to add a cross sign. So that's why we have to add first image, then on top of we have to add the icon button. So first in the stack we are using the T rounded container. In that we have the T rounded image. This is the T rounded image widget. It is a simple widget. To build the image widget is going to check if it is a network, memory, file, asset, and using clip perfect it is going to add the radius to the image and it is going to build the network, memory image, file image or asset image. T rounded container is also same, but it is going to take the child. This is going to take the image, right? So we have image URL, apply radius to true, height is this, and this is the width. Again, by keeping the view of mobile, tablet and desktop, then image type is network because this image will have a URL, and in that case this is the URL that we are passing from the image widget dot URL, and this is the network type image. Then using position widget in the stack, top right 00 means on the top right corner we are going to create the icon button, and whenever it will be pressed we are going to use get.back to close that pop-up. And then to display the image details or the metadata, we are first using a row in the expanded just in case we have the smaller devices, we have the larger devices. So for that, to make the things responsive, we have to use expanded, and for the expanded we have to use the row property, right? So we have image name with the flex of 1 because by default it is going to take the one time of this expanded size. And then for the second expanded we're going to use the flex 3 means take the 3 times space as compared to the first one. So we have image file name over here, then we have the image URL. Same way we have a row. First is the image URL, then we have the image URL, actual URL, and after that we have a button in the expanded. This is going to take the double space as compared to first one and second one. And the button which is going to have a text of copy URL, and we are going to use this clipboard, flutter clipboard dot copy function. And what we want to copy, we want to copy this image URL, and once it is copied we want to display the tloaders custom toast URL copied. So this custom toast function is this one. We are going to use the scaffold messenger dot show snack bar. I have created a custom toast by myself. So we're going to use this custom toast to display the message that URL is now copied. And in the pubspec.yaml file, you can see we have the clipboard. Make sure you have the latest one. So you can get this package from the pub.dev. And at the last, we have the delete image function, which we are going to talk about in the next tutorial to delete the image. So once this widget is ready, we can call the image pop-up and just pass the image. So this is, you can see the benefit of creating our own reusable widgets. And inside the media content in the gesture detector right over here, to call the pop-up, or because we are using the dialog here, so we cannot treat it as a simple widget. So to open the dialog we have to call the dialog. So using get dot dialog, here you can see we have to pass the widget, and inside this I'm going to use the image pop-up, and because image is required and from this images list we are using the image, and that image will be passed. By this way we are going to able to handle the on tab. So now let's save the code, and here you can see currently we do not have any image. Click on banners, so our image is loading. Click on this image and you can see we have the image in detail with the design that we wanted. In this stack we have on the right top corner we have the cross button, the icon button. Then we have the image name, image URL with the copy URL button. Then we have a delete image button over here, but this is currently not doing anything. We can click on this cross button to close the image. Still we have the load more, but once clicked there is nothing to be loaded. Let's click on the upload image, click on select images. Let's open some other images and click on upload. Click on upload again. And as you can see, it is uploading. And down below, we can see the new images. And one by one, the image is arriving down below. And from the top, you can see the images are removed by its own. And now it's done. You can see all the images here. Just click on any of the image and you can see the complete image with its name, all the details, and also you can select any image to view. So now click on this to close, and that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you learned something new, and if you have any questions, you can ask me down below in the comments, or you can reach me at WhatsApp or the support email. You can again get it from the codingvt.com, and also to download the complete code, you can get the link down below from the description, or directly go to the codingvt.com, and to watch the complete playlist you can get the link down below in the description. Once again, thank you for watching and take care.